Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our City Commission meeting. We're to start with a roll call. Deborah? I couldn't hear you.
All right, this button gets pushed by mistake. So I'll start again. Mayor Brook?
Here.
Vice Mayor Carter? I know she's here. Commissioner Sarah?
Present.
Commissioner Vignola?
Here.
Commissioner Simmons?
Here.
City Manager Babinick?
Here.
City Attorney Hearn?
Here.
Thank you.
Great. Next on the agenda is a moment of silence. Please give us a moment of silence for whatever's on your mind or in your heart. Thank you. Thank you very much. Robert Curnow, if you would please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, I would greatly appreciate it.
I'd be honored to, Mayor.
Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
I'm getting used to these virtual meetings. They have some pluses and some minuses, but I'm glad we're doing the right thing by holding them virtually. And with that, John, would you please read our virtual meeting statement?
Thank you, Mayor. Due to the ongoing state of emergency and the recommendation from all public health authorities, the City of Coral Springs is holding this meeting virtually, consistent with the Governor's Executive Order 20-69, as extended by its two other orders, 2020-112, and our own resolution of 2020-16. This meeting can be viewed on City TV, Bluestream Channel 725, 25, and 25.7, and AT&T UVerse Channel 99. Online at coralsprings.org/citytv, and it can be heard on City Radio at 1670 1670 AM. For those who do not have access to any of those means, we are providing access outside the Coral Springs Municipal Complex by the parking garage. There's TVs there, and there is a phone if anyone wants to call in during public comment. Anyone who wants to be a public comment can also, if they're on the Zoom meeting, which was posted and advertised, or through the online advertised email address of coralsprings.org/public comment. Mayor, that's our virtual, and I would note that it is scheduled to expire by the Governor's executive order on July 1st. We are working, as are numerous cities and counties, with the Governor on that, and we also have a plan using our own emergency order, if need be, to continue them in July. I don't think we have a plan to be in person in July, so we are working on that. I will keep everybody informed as we move forward, and that's what I have.
All right, John, thank you so much. Commissioner Simmons, it is great to see you, and congratulations to you and Cheyenne on the birth of your baby.
Thank you so much.
Congrats.
I got my coffee. I'm here.
That's great. Well, we're very happy for you. Very, very happy for you. We have no recognitions, so next is public comment. Deborah, do we have any signed speakers?
Yes, Mayor, we have two signed speakers. The first will be Nancy Mateer. The second will be Randall Cutter. So if you just pause for a moment, Robert will be connecting them to the meeting.
Great, thank you.
I have Nancy on the line.
Thank you.
Welcome, Nancy.
Hi, everyone. My name is Nancy Mateer, and I reside at Northwest 54th Place, Coral Springs, Florida. Good evening, Coral Springs Commission. Thank you for your leadership during this challenging times for our city. Your adaptability for creating an accessible testing site to hosting countless food distributions has not gone unnoticed. This crisis painfully lays bare the wound of economic insecurity for so many people. In addition, it makes apparent that the racial disparities that exist in our county, Blacks in Broward County, are twice as likely to be infected by COVID-19, presumably due to pre-existing inequalities in healthcare access, adverse environmental exposure, and other social determinants of health. However, we must face the reality that once the state of emergency is lifted and our backlog and the backlogged rent, utility, and other bills are due, many of our Coral Springs residents will struggle. It is critical that we continue to move forward in 2020 and we prepare for the reality in reimagining how we both serve and protect our communities, especially those who are disproportionately impacted by inequality. It is time for Coral Springs to reconsider its top needs and priorities, particularly given the lingering aftermath of a public health, economic, and social crisis. Therefore, I am requesting the following. 1, drastically increase funds for economic development for small and informal businesses. We, as well as human services, including emergency response social workers, reflected in the 2020-2021 budget. 2, a reallocation of both priorities and budget line items related to police and corrections through legislation that addresses 1, create a civilian investigative panel. At least 70% of the civilian investigative panel membership should be appointed under the recommendation of local community-based groups. Fully fund a diverse civilian investigative panel with subpoena power. Divert previously allocated resources from CSPD toward investment in unarmed crisis first responders, trained mental health providers, and code enforcement. Eliminate fines and fees, such as that driver's license suspensions for non-moving violations, which serve to keep communities in a cycle of poverty and push to a criminal justice system for non-criminal offenses. Decriminalize violations of municipal ordinances and expand the civilian citation program to include all misdemeanor offenses. And lastly, ensure Medicaid expansion is a 2020-21 state legislative priority for Coral Springs. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Nancy. Thank you for being here so often. We appreciate it very much. Thank you for your ideas.
Thank you. Have a
One
great
more
evening.
speaker.
Yes, I'm going to get the caller on the line. Please stand by, Mr. Mayor.
Our next speaker will be Randall Cutter.
Welcome, Randall. We're ready when you are. Robert, do you know if we have him?
And I have the caller on the line.
Great.
This is Randall Cutter, 12655 Northwest 17th Place in Coral Springs. I'm the pastor of New Dawn Community Church and also the co-chair of the Clergy Coalition of Coral Springs and Parkland. And Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners, esteemed city staff, congratulations, Commissioner Simmons, on the birth of your child. And I am calling today I did not get a chance to call in on June 3rd after the very peaceful protest on June 2nd. And I just simply wanted to commend the police department for the role it played in alerting the business community, the faith community, and the various stakeholders in the community to what was happening on that day, and to seek buy-in and cooperation. And so the Monday before that protest, we were called in as a faith community. The Clergy Coalition was called in, and we were briefed. And we had a chance to be able to hear. And my congregation, our location that we'll be moving from, is right there in that parking lot where the protest was. And so as soon as I heard about it, I was able to galvanize the Clergy Coalition to be able to pass out water But as we discussed it, it became obvious the police department's heart was incredible throughout the whole thing. And I just wanted to commend them. They not only informed us, when I stated that we would be passing out water, they brought the lion's share of the water to the event for us to pass out. There was a lot of other water passed out and brought in also, and even Gatorade, lots of different people brought it because we were extremely concerned about that time of day where people would be harmed. I saw the police department setting up safety parameters, being respectful, doing all sorts of things to help make that a very successful protest. I'm simply wanting to commend them to you. I, of course, have been a police chaplain in the past, and I know the training and the energy that is put into our police department. And so I wanted to honor them tonight for the role that they played in that event. And of course, thank you, commissioners, and our city for all the efforts over the years to make them into the quality organization that they are. Thank you for your time tonight.
Great. Thank you very much, Randall. Good to have you with us. Has anybody else decided to speak from the public?
I'm going to turn that over to Robert to see if he received any calls into our phone-in line.
There are no more callers.
Okay, very good. We'll move on to public hearings. The first is comp plan amendment and rezoning, second reading, Sunset Trails. There's a request to defer. John, I'll hand it to you. And you have to unmute. You gotta unmute.
Thank you, Mayor. There's a request to defer item 1, and there's 2 items, 2 ordinances. I will read the title of the first and request to defer. For both these items, so you know, it's unusual to defer to a date uncertain, but this, due to COVID-19, did not get through the county in time. It was scheduled to be tonight for us, but obviously cannot go until it goes to the county. We're not sure exactly when that will be, and that's why it will be deferred, but it will be completely re-advertised. So it will be full notice when it does come back. So the first one is a request to defer second reading of ordinance 2020-102 relative to CPA 19-1. Generally located north of Wiles Road and west of Coral Ridge Drive, legally described as Parcel A, Windsor Square, less the north 100 feet thereof, together with Parcel A, Wyndham Lakes Plaza, together with the adjacent north 33 feet of Wiles Road, right away from commercial and transportation to 15.59 plus or minus acres of medium residential, circumscribed at 10.1 dwelling units per acre, and 0.07 plus or minus acres of the westernmost 100 feet of the adjacent north 33 feet of Wiles Road, right away to community facilities. Mayor, this would just simply looking for a request to defer.
Okay, will one of my colleagues make that motion?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Vignola,
Second.
second by Vice Mayor Carter. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, carries unanimously.
Thank you, Mayor. The companion item is the request to defer second reading of ordinance 2020-103 relative to ZR 19-1, generally located north of Wiles Road and west of Coral Ridge Drive, legally described as Parcel A, Windsor Square, less than north 100 feet thereof, together with Parcel A, Wyndham Lakes Plaza, together with the adjacent north 33 feet of Wiles Road right away from general business B3, 14.63 plus or minus acres, and a right of way of 0.96 plus or minus acres to residential cluster, circumscribed to 10.1 dwelling units per acre, 15.59 plus or minus acres, and a special utility of 0.07 plus or minus acres as the companion request to defer as well, Mayor.
Is there a request to defer by motion?
So moved.
Moved, seconded by Vice Mayor Carter. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Carries unanimously.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you, John. Next is the Cornerstone Special Exception Modification, led by John and Julie.
Yep, this is a request to hold a quasi-judicial hearing, a public hearing to approve petition of Laboca Partners LLC for a special exception approval and a condition modification from section 2501056 addressing block length and perimeter of the Land Development Code relative to minimum and maximum block lengths for construction of a mixed-use development consisting of 84,000 square feet of retail, 210,000 square feet of commercial, a 138-unit hotel, and 352 residential units, the Cornerstone project in the downtown mixed-use zoning district located at the southwest corner of University Drive and West Sample Road. legally described as a portion of tracks 1 and 2, section 21, township 48 south, range 1 east, Florida Fruitlands Company subdivision number 2, and authorize city attorney's office to draft an order modifying SE 19-11 that adopts that order. Mayor, the public hearing has been waived. There have been no affected parties. So we're looking to hear from staff, the petitioner, and open it to the public. Approve, authorize, and adopt.
Great. Thank you very much, John.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, Julie.
Good evening.
And Julie, before you get started, before I forget, if we can get a copy or ask Nancy to send to us something in writing. Every now and then she was getting cut out. I took some notes from what she said, but if we can get her accurate requests, I would appreciate that. Thank
Mayor, I requested that from the clerk as well, so she'll work on that.
All right, thank you. Thanks, Frank and Deborah. Julie, back to you.
All right, thank you. Just give 1 sec for the slides to come up, and then I'll get started. Thank you very much. Go ahead, one more. Okay, so as Mr. Hearn mentioned, we're before you this evening for a modification from the special exceptions that the Cornerstone project previously received from y'all back in February. We did brief you a little bit on this at your workshop last week. Go ahead to the next slide, please. So as everyone knows, this is the site of the Financial Plaza building that's there right now. As I mentioned back in February, you all approved a number of special exceptions for the project. Everything from modifying the width of Main Street to minimum block lengths, as well as some of the heights due to the mixing of uses. In March, the project was back before you again for plat approval, which was actually approved by the county last night. So that was a good win for the project to help it move forward along a little bit more. And then from there, the CR actually amended their development agreement with them on June 1st, just a couple weeks ago. So next slide. The reason we're here before you this evening is when the plat went to the county for approval, their staff had a few comments, as they always do. However, in this instance, it did affect a little bit of the minimum block lengths that are on the east and west sides of the north side of the property. So it's got about 7 feet smaller than it was when you approved. So because of that modification, it's here before you this evening. Okay, next slide. Here's the phasing plan, which again, we showed you last week. I know Susie went into it pretty extensively last week, but since they are requesting phasing, that's another reason we're here before you this evening. Since a number of the conditions when you originally approved it included timeframes, whether it be when right-of-way improvements had to happen or just that the project was happening as one whole phase. So because of that, we're here before you this evening for a couple of the modifications to the conditions as well. As you can see here, there's 5 phases. The first phase will include the residential building, which is about where the A is there on your screen, as well as the garage. It will also include Main Street, as well as all of the right-of-way improvements within city property, and city right-of-way, I should say. Phase B will be conducted by FDOT, and that will be part of their University Drive project. C includes the hotel, which will be developed by Predesco. Phase D is the first office building, which is hard on the corner of University and Sample, as well as the garage to accommodate that building. And then the final phase will be the second office building. The petitioners on the phone, I know they're going to speak in a minute. They have additional information for you based on your request last week about the timing of the project. So they're going to go into that a little bit more, but I did at least want to show you the phasing plan one more time, just to give you an idea for when they're talking about it later on, what each section is that they're talking about.
Thank you.
Okay, next slide. There's still a few more items to go for this. Of course, we're here for the first bullet here this evening. They have resubmitted for site plan sign off, so we're hoping that's going to happen in the next few weeks here. That'll be great. From there, we will come back to you with an agreement for the improvements within the city-owned right-of-way, followed by, hopefully soon, we're just waiting on FDOT to finalize any comments that they might have on the agreement for the pass-through agreement for the work to be done on their property. Hopefully later this year, they'll have shored up a few more of the tenants, so we'll be able to come forward with you the master signage program, followed by a potential parking lease agreement. Next slide. So all of the conditions that are included in the memo and staff's memo are carried over from the previous special exception approval. There's just a couple modifications, as I mentioned. Next slide. which I've highlighted in blue here, and they're underlined in your memo, and it's relating to help it align with the phasing plan I just went through, mainly that any of the cross-access agreements be done before the north building. Next slide. And then again here relating to the phasing plan. So with that, that concludes staff's presentation. We are recommending approval, obviously, and as I've mentioned, I know the applicant is here and has some comments for you as well.
Okay, thank you very much. Scott, welcome.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you. It's good to see everyone again, even under these circumstances. Yeah, just a few points. I'll touch on the special exception modification very briefly. As Julie mentioned, when we were finalizing the plat with the county, there was an additional 7 feet adjacent to Sample Road that the county, we pushed back and forth, that they basically wanted dedicated as right of way. It does not affect the plan that you all saw and is being approved at all. It's simply a seven additional feet of right of way. It encompasses some sidewalk area and whatnot. It does shorten the block by an additional 7 feet, but really doesn't impact the plan or the special exception that was approved by all of you back in February. Unless there are other specific questions on that, or I can continue and then we can go through that. I was just going to run through some of the questions that I heard at the workshop. I did monitor the workshop last week. I have been in touch with Julie and Susie and Sherry 2 or 3 times since then, have provided some additional information and just want to provide that for all of you. Since we were in front of you, it was the last live meeting that you all had back the first meeting in March. We've been hard at work. There's been a lot going on. Immediately following that meeting, we submitted the final pieces of the plat application to the county and fast-tracked that for approval. And as Julie mentioned, it was approved by the county yesterday, so we're obviously very happy about that. The plat being approved yesterday was actually a linchpin in something else we've been working on very hard, which was financing for the project. And obviously, given what we've all been dealing with the last several months, that became substantially more complicated. Myself, our entire transactional team have been working very hard with our lender, and that loan is actually set to close tomorrow based on the plat approval yesterday. So that's obviously a very big deal for the project. And then there are some other conditions associated with that financing and getting the plat recorded, and where we're looking to fast track the plat recording over the course of the next 30 days. And so we've been very hard at work on that. As Julie also mentioned, following the approvals back in February and March, we submitted our final site plan submittal. We got a round of comments from your staff very quickly, as they've been doing throughout on this project, which we very much appreciate. Addressed all of those, I believe made another submittal, and are also working to finalize based on this approval and a couple of other outstanding items that, as Julie mentioned, ideally over the course of the next 2 to 4 weeks, we'll be in a position to have final site plan approval for the project, which again is a very big milestone from the entitlement end for the project. A couple other very significant items that I know you're all interested in. Demolition of the building was originally slated for this summer in July. Obviously, that was lining up with the commencement of construction of the project, and we've clearly lost some time as a result of all of this and lining everything else up. I was on the phone with the residential developers earlier today. The demo permit has been submitted. It is under review. As I understand, the residential permits are being submitted imminently, potentially before the end of the week, if not at some point next week, so that they will be under review to actually commence site work and vertical construction as the early part of the project. And so we're looking to do the demolition work at this point sometime in the fall. We'd ideally after tonight be submitting a request to Susan to extend a deadline that is currently the end of July until the end of the year, to give some additional time, given the circumstances we're all dealing with, in order to have the building demolished before the end of the year. Another very critical component of that, because we understand that there have been some maintenance and safety concerns in the building. We've been working for quite some time, actually, but there were some legal pitfalls on an agreement with your police department, and in particular SWAT, to allow them to train in the building, go through, clear the building. It would be a training exercise, but also would serve to further secure the building based on a lot of the utilization that we understand your SWAT team is going to use the building for. That agreement was signed by my client and returned to the city earlier today. I did speak with Sherry Whitaker on that a little bit earlier, and she's going to finalize that piece of it in the city attorney's office, who we've been working with on the agreement. So I thought that that was very good news and will help, obviously, on the safety and security component associated with the building until it is actually demolished. We are planning ideally on beginning site work for the entire site in January of 2020. That would be for the entirety of the project. And then let me address the phasing plan. It's been developed for a variety of different reasons. Obviously, the residential developer is a different developer coming in and developing a portion of the site. We also, through the improvements that I believe you're all aware of, that FDOT is planning throughout the city, not just adjacent to this site on University Drive, are in coordination and having, monthly conference calls with FDOT based on the work that's going to occur along the corridor. And that will include the work that Julie showed earlier in Limit B. And so that agreement, which will be an agreement between the city and FDOT, and then a pass-through agreement to our client. We've been working with your city attorney's office on that as well. Should be back in the city's hands in the next couple of weeks based on a call we had with FDOT last week. So again, very good information. And then from a timing standpoint, I'm going to run through the 5 phases, A through E. So I don't know, Julie, maybe it's helpful to put up the phasing plan briefly while I talk through that. Can you do that?
Sure, Matt can.
Oh, okay.
We'll make it happen.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Matt. If you could go back to my presentation. He's going to use that one. Thank you. And we're going to go back to the phasing plan.
It's the one with all the colors.
I think it was, yeah.
Perfect, thank you. So
Thanks, Matt.
we provided an Excel spreadsheet with some dates on it to staff a couple of days ago, and I'm going to walk you through what that schedule actually looks like. But as I mentioned, A is the residential component, which includes a garage and the residential portion of the project. They are submitting for permits imminently, intending to commence construction first quarter of 2021. It is an 18-month to 2-year construction period. 2 years on the outside would put it at Q1 of 2023. In speaking with the residential developer, they're hopeful of finishing up earlier than that, obviously, if at all possible. B is what I was just referencing with regard to the FDOT improvements, and based on our agreements and understanding with FDOT, the latest they are anticipating commencing these improvements, and when I say these improvements, I mean their entirety, the commencing their the improvements that they plan along the University Drive corridor, not necessarily this particular location, would commence in Q3 of 2021. And it is, again, about an 18-month to 2-year completion period based on the agreements we have been working on with FDOT and the conversation. It's been really nice to have a seat at the table on this. When we are ready to move in accordance with what they're doing, they're going to begin working on the University Drive improvements. We do believe, and I know Susan gave an update on this last week, that they will all occur very much within the time frames of the overall development of the project, so that there are no issues with regard to turn lanes, things of that nature. That was one of the primary reasons that we started the negotiation and discussion with FDOT to incorporate this project into theirs as opposed to doing it separately. C is the hotel, and I'll lump the hotel with D and E because the timeframes are all the same. But very briefly, we were on the doorstep of a final agreement with a hotel developer as we entered the COVID period. And unfortunately, obviously, hotels being one of the hardest hit, we are still in discussions with that hotel developer, just obviously waiting to see how everything comes out as it relates specifically to the hotel component. But at the moment, the plan and the time frame for C, D, and E are all the same, which is to commence construction in Q3 of 2021. And again, about a 2-year construction window, which would put completion somewhere late summer, early fall of 2023. all in all, even under the CRA TIF agreement, which I believe currently has a deadline for completion at the end of 2022, it's 6 to 8 month delay based on a lot of the things that have been occurring. The one thing I do want to make clear is this is not a phasing plan in the typical sense of a phasing plan. We're not planning to start and finish A, for example, the multifamily, while the rest of the project sits there with nothing happening, vacant or nothing coming out of the ground and showing progress. The intent here, as I just outlined, and I believe the conditions document as well, certainly as it relates to all of the offsite improvements for the project, would be the residential will absolutely begin first, but very shortly thereafter, within a 3 to 6 month window, the rest of the project is going to start coming vertical as well. As I said earlier, the intention is to start site work on the project as a whole, so that once vertical construction plans are ready for the hotel and the north block, everything will be ready to go vertical, hopefully around the same time. With that, happy to answer any questions that anyone may have. Thank you.
Any questions of the petitioner from the commission?
I just would like to say something, Mr. Mayor.
Sure.
Kind of hard to have questions when you explain every little detail about the project. I think it's just so helpful, and I don't want to speak for all of the members of the commission, but it's very helpful to see these because, we get so many questions. I mean, even from people that don't even live in the city about, when the building's going down or when is this happening? Is this happening? And so to finally kind of get a timeline and get some more information and truly understand what's happening with this project, this is extremely helpful. And so, Mr. Backman, Julie, thank you so much for, just getting all this information out to us so that we can be better stewards of what's going on with this project.
Thank you, Commissioner. Anybody else? Commissioner Vignola.
Scott, I really appreciate you going through the timeline on the phasing. Obviously hearing phasing kind of scares me because you don't want to see, the residential aspects go up and then nothing else follow suit. So I do appreciate that. And we understand the situation that you and the rest of the world's in. So thank you for continuing to move forward.
Great. Anybody else? Vice Mayor, Commissioner Sarah?
I too wanted to thank Julie and the staff for a very thorough presentation. I want to thank Scott for being on here and also following us on the workshop. I did have quite a few questions at the workshop and had some internal comments that I didn't even share, but because of your due diligence and staff and our agenda briefing, I felt much more comfortable. And tonight, you coming on and giving us that, once again, very thorough update, I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Commissioner. Vice Mayor Carter.
No, I had questions too, but he did such a great job with the presentation. They're all answered.
Great. Well, it looks like, Scott, your work is almost complete. This is a public hearing. Is there anybody from the public that wishes to be heard? Just confirming with Bob that nobody's checking in. All right, nobody's checking in. We'll entertain a motion. Is a request to hold the judicial hearing, public hearing, approve, authorize, and adopt.
Move to approve.
Second.
All right, moved by Commissioner Simmons, seconded by Commissioner Vignola. Any discussion? So just great work, great partnership, and thank you for answering all of our questions. And thank you, team, for all of your intelligent questions prior to tonight. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Carries unanimously.
Great.
Thank you
Thanks.
very
It was great
much.
seeing everybody.
Thank you, Julie. Good to see you too, Scott. Next is item number 3, conditional use approval, ASA Charter High School.
Mayor, this is a request to hold a quasi-judicial hearing and a public hearing to approve petition of Academic Solutions Academy, Inc. for conditional use approval in accordance with section 250568, conditional uses of the Land Development Code to operate a charter high school, Coral Springs Academic Solutions Academy in the Community Business B2 zoning district, located at 10044 Northwest 31st Street, legally described as Parcel E, Springs Park, and authorize City Attorney's Office to draft an order approving CA 20-2 and adopt said order. The quasi-judicial mayor has been waived. There have been no affected parties, so we will hear from staff and the petitioner, and if you would hold a public hearing, authorize and adopt. Thank you.
Thank you.
Evening again. Just have a few slides on this one. Thank you, Matt. You can go ahead to the next slide. Thank you. So the request before you this evening is for a charter high school at 10044 Northwest 31st Street. The petitioner is Coral Springs Academic Solutions Academy, we'll refer to as ASA throughout the rest of the presentation. The property itself is Zone B2, which allows for high schools such as this via conditional use. So that's why the request is here before this evening. Next slide. So you can see the property itself is actually not too far away from where we are here, just a little west of us past the hospital on 31st and 99th. The property is a little over 3 acres. It actually used to be one of the North Broward Prep sites. It was North Broward Prep from about 2002 to 2018. They closed this location. So the building itself that's there is about 20,000 square feet. Go to the next slide. So here's the existing site plan for you to see. You can see they're not really doing too much to what's out there right now. Since it was a school before, it's kind of perfect for another school to go in at this location as far as the building itself and the amount of work that they have to do to it. The area that's shaded in gray there is about a 2,600 square foot addition that they'll be doing. The overall plan for the property is a high school, as I mentioned, so it'll be 9th through 12th grades. They will operate Monday through Friday. Where it comes into a little bit difference with ASA than some of your more traditional schools is that they will be operating in 2 shifts. The first being from 7 to 12, and then there'll be time for the students to clear out before the next group of students come in from 1 to 6. Some of the students will be coming for the whole shift. Some may just need 1 or 2 credits left to graduate. So they may come for part of the shift. So you definitely, while 700 sounds like a lot, and I can tell you as staff at first, we were like, whoa, that's a lot of students on the site. Once we started talking with ASA and about their program and how things work, we believe that it's appropriate for this area. They will have 14 classrooms. I think if you click, if you don't mind, Matt, if you click, it'll bring up the floor plan to show 14 classrooms. There will be 35 staff members. You can see they're including even recreational activity areas as well as cafeteria type meeting areas as well in the school too. There will be up to 35 staff members per shift. As you can see from before, the main entrance and exits will still be on 31st. Nothing is changing as far as the traffic flow goes for the school, which I'll talk about a little bit more in a second here. Go to the next slide. So when considering conditional uses for schools such as this, the code does require that the building itself be at least 30 feet from any residential property. As you can see here, the closest, I think if you click, some arrows will pop up. Sorry, I picked the wrong meeting to try and include some animation. Sorry, Matt. There we go. If you keep clicking, I think we'll end up with 3 arrows here. But the closest residential property that we have nearby is 260 feet away. It's an apartment complex that's zoned RM20. So the building itself definitely far exceeds those requirements. Additionally, anything that's going on outside needs to be screened. But in this case, you know, a high school is obviously different than, say, an elementary school where you may have a playground or something to that effect. So this does not have that. There is an existing pool. They're not planning on using it right now. They may choose to later on. So one of our conditions is just that everything happen inside the building unless it's relating to the pool itself. But as I said, they're not planning on using it right now. Then just click for it. Again, when considering a conditional use such as this, we do require to take into consideration noise and traffic for the surrounding neighborhood. As I mentioned, everything's going to happen indoors, so we don't expect any excessive noise associated with the use. They did submit a traffic study, which was approved by the city's traffic consultant. Where ASA is also a little different is that up to 70% of the students that are coming to the school are going to be arriving via public transit. So you won't have this mass of cars of whether in the first phase, we're recommending up to 270 students per phase. With once they give us a new traffic study, then they could go up to 350 to get that maximum of 700 per shift. You won't have that massive influx of cars. They're actually only giving out 18 parking passes for the students themselves. And then the rest will come via whether it be carpooling or via their parents dropping them off. With that, we are also recommending a condition, as you can see the last bullet here, that they do complete the sidewalk network that's leading up to the school, since so many students will be walking from those transit stops. There is just one piece that's missing along 99th, so we are recommending that they install that prior to school starting. Okay, next slide. We do find that it meets the criteria for conditional use approval. And oh, there was more animation there. Sorry. See, even I forgot that time. Go ahead. Next slide, please. That's where the sidewalk is going to go. So we do not believe that this use would negatively impact, largely due to, we believe that the traffic, which is oftentimes one of the most impactful things that can happen to the surrounding neighborhood when it comes to a new school being incorporated in an area. Since so many of the students will be walking from transit, we don't think it impacts the residential uses. It meets all buffering requirements as well as the comp plan. Next slide. So as I mentioned, we are recommending a few conditions. They're all listed out in your memo as well, mostly relating to the number of students at any time before that traffic study that I mentioned, to make sure that those students are using public transit as they're expecting. Next slide. And then as well that this conditional use be just for this school, knowing that they are different in their operations, and that again, that sidewalk be included. That concludes staff's presentation. I know the applicant is here as well, in case you have any questions of them too.
Okay, does anyone have any questions of Julie or the applicant? Okay, I just have one, maybe two, Julie.
Okay.
How do you arrive at 70%?
That was given to us by the applicant. They actually have two locations right now, one in Sunrise and one in Fort Lauderdale, if I remember correctly. And that's what they're seeing of their students right now. So they're basing that off on their other locations.
Gotcha.
Mr. Mayor, Mike Moskowitz, representing the applicant. Yes, this is based on a number of years of operation at both Sunrise and Fort Lauderdale. This is a different type of school operation. Most schools have fixed hours. All students show up at a specific time and all students leave at a certain time. This is a school that caters to the student that can't attend those types of schools. They may work, they may have children actually, they may have family commitments, all sorts of reasons why they can't attend the traditional school setting. So there are two shifts. There's a 7 a.m. to a noon and a 1 p.m. to a 6 p.m. But not all students show up at 7 a.m. Not all students show up at 1 p.m. They may only need 1 or 2 or 3 classes. So they may show up at different times during those shifts. And our statistics show that approximately 70% of our students arrive in public transportation. For example, in this particular location, as staff mentioned, we've only set aside 18 parking spots for students and are issuing 18 parking passes. So clearly students are not going to be driving to the school and utilizing their own vehicle. Okay? And we also find that there aren't that many students that are dropped off by their parents, given that this is a high school. They are utilizing public transportation, or if they come from the general location, they may be walking or they may be utilizing their bicycle.
Okay, thank you. You answered my second question too. Any other questions from the team? Okay, go ahead, Commissioner Vignola.
Moskowitz, I just got a question. I know you guys are only issuing 18 parking spaces. Is there any type of consequences you guys foresee for kids going ahead and driving the area and parking in other areas over there and walking to the school?
If we find out about it, we will correct the situation. For example, I guess, Commissioner, you're asking, what if someone were to drive and park in a residential or in a commercial area nearby? If we find out about it, and sooner or later you do find out about it, we will correct the situation and make sure it does not occur again. Our students are really the type of student that utilizes public transportation. We encourage it. We actually issue bus passes. I may have left that out in response to the mayor's question. We issue bus passes. So it's not just encouraged, we're providing them with the necessary means to utilize the buses. So we don't allow what you are asking about to occur, and if it does, we correct it.
All right, thank you.
All right, anybody else? All right, seeing none, this is a public hearing. Is there anyone from the public that is waiting to be heard, Deborah? Okay, we'll close the public hearing. And this is a request to approve, authorize, and adopt.
Move to approve.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Happy to welcome you into our neighborhood, Mike.
Well, thank you, Mayor. As you know, now that I live in Parkland, but I was a 21-year resident of Coral Springs, a chair of your Planning and Zoning Board in the 1980s. So I go back a very, very long time with Coral Springs. I consider you my home city.
Great. Well, it's nice to have you with us. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, carries unanimously.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Next is item number 4, Resolution 2020-026. It's amendment to CDBG Action Plan for CARES Act funding.
This is a request to hold a public hearing and amend the city's fiscal year 2019-20 Community Development Block Grant Annual Action Plan to incorporate CDBG CV funds of $467,000 authorized by the CARES Act, adopt Resolution 2020-26 approving the amendment to said action plans, and authorize staff to transmit amendment and resolution to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development for approval. Mayor's request to hold a public hearing, amend, adopt, and authorize. Julie?
All right, no animation in this one, Matt. So if you wouldn't mind. So we're here before you this evening for a substantial change to our action plan. Go ahead to the next slide. And whenever we're making an amendment to the plan that's adopted, like for instance, next year's plan will be before you in July, that was adopted last July. Whenever we're making a change to that plan, which affects one of the 3 purposes you can see here on the screen, that's when we come back to you for an approval for that. And in this case, we received additional funding through the CARES Act. And so we're here to allocate those funds. Next slide, please. We received $467,000. And what we'd like to do with that is incorporate a micro enterprise assistance program, similar to the rental assistance program that you all considered, I believe at your last meeting, if not the one before that. However, in this case, it would help small businesses. So they have to be 5 or fewer employees, including the owner. They will have to meet, because they're federal funds, they will have to meet income eligibility requirements. So we'll be working with Minority Builders as our consultant to help with that. They can receive with this allocation up to $10,000 per applicant. So we're expecting with this money to be able to help at least 36 businesses throughout the city. We'll help them with their lease or mortgage payments as well as utility payments. Next slide. When we received the CARE funds, it was as you know, to benefit low to moderate income households or businesses. And so by verifying the income of the business owner, it will meet those requirements. Next slide. So with that, we're requesting that you hold a public hearing to amend this year's annual action plan in order to use the $467,000 that you adopt Resolution 2020-026, approving the amendments, as well as authorizing staff to submit these changes to HUD. Once approved, we'll start working on getting the applications open and getting the money spent. We definitely want to help out our small businesses here in the city. And I just have to say, Mr. Mayor, if I may for 1 second, I just want to give kudos to our housing staff. They put together a rental assistance program and this micro enterprise program. 2 things like that in 1 year is a huge feat, let alone during a pandemic. So I have to say I'm very proud of our staff for getting this together, and we look forward to spending this money.
Wonderful. I appreciate that. Julie, do the business owners have to be residents of Coral Springs?
Yes, they do.
Great. And how will priority be given if we know at this juncture?
We would do it similar to we did the rental, where it's first come, first full application. once they have everything submitted and their applications are complete, then we would start allocating it in that sense.
Great. Thank you. Any other questions of Julie?
Yeah, I have a question.
Yes.
Thank you. So I guess, well, the first one is just, as we begin to dole out those funds and things like that, can you keep the commission aware of, how those funds have been spent or where they have went to, so that we can, just know what's going on with it and who's getting the help that they need.
Sure,
I would love for us to keep, continue to be aware of that. Second question is, I'm not really sure, and I'm not saying we need to promote that we're helping folks out, but I would love to see the city kind of, show that they have put together a rental, assistance program and things like that, because, a lot of people outside of Coral Springs think that we're just the land of luxury, and that we don't have issues up here. And I think it's important that the city continue to show all sides and show that, we do have people that struggle and we are doing the best that we can and we are helping folks out. I'm not saying we always have to champion the good things that we do, but I think when you come, when you have these society issues and things like that, it's important to let people know that we are doing, what we're doing.
Great. Thank you, Commissioner. Frank?
Mr. Mayor, Commissioner Simmons, we are going to do a PR campaign with this, exactly what you're saying. But we're going to make sure the applicants are okay with that. And we would love to highlight those that we're helping out, because it does a couple things. One, what you talked about, but secondly, people need help. And it's okay to ask for help when you need help in whatever way. So we're hoping to highlight that. So thank you very much for that suggestion. We'll follow up with that.
Great. Thank you. Anybody else from the team? Commissioner Sarah?
I'm good. Thank you.
Okay. Great. So this is a public hearing.
Yeah, public hearing. Sorry.
Is there anyone from the public that wishes to be heard? All right. Seeing and hearing none, public hearing is closed. Commissioner Simmons, you want to move it?
I think I would like to move to approve it. So.
Great.
Second.
Second by Vice Mayor Carter. Any further discussion? Good work, team. Good work, Housing Department. That's awesome. Really great.
Thank you. I'll relay that.
All right. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right. Carries unanimously. Next and last on this part of the agenda is item number 5, Community Shuttle Free Fare Policy. Robert Hunter.
Kevin, that's a request to hold a public hearing and approve the free fare policy for all riders on the Coral Springs community buses. Mr. Hunter.
The request to have this public hearing is under the current interlocal agreement with Broward County Transit, section 2.6, that anytime we have a fare change, we must have a public hearing and give notice, to the public about this hearing. Since the current ILA provides full funding for the community bus program now, we're requesting to eliminate the fare for riders using this service. This free fare policy actually went into effect on in February 2020, and this requested hearing is necessary for us to be in compliance with the ILA. So our request is
hopefully we won't say no. All right, very good. This is a public hearing. Is there anyone from the public that wants to be heard?
Mayor, no one is online and no one is outside waiting.
All right, very good. Public hearing is closed. Is there a motion?
Move to approve.
All right,
Second.
moved by Simmons, seconded by Vice Mayor Carter. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Carries unanimously. Thank you, Rob. Next, we're on to the consent agenda. Are there any pulls? All right.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, if we could pull number 6, just so we can get a little bit better explanation on it, because I questioned it yesterday. So if I questioned it, somebody else might question it too.
Sure. Sounds good. Any other polls?
9, please.
6 and 9.
Sorry, I don't have my agenda in front of me. Apologize. Item 11, that's not in consent, right? That's after.
Correct. That moved to
policy and direction, right? Okay.
All right. So 6 and 9 are pulled. Would there be a motion for the balance?
Move it.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Simmons, second by Commissioner Sarah. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, carries unanimously. Number 6, banking services, Kim Moskowitz. This is, well, Kim, I'll let you share if she's here.
Yes, good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes.
This is just to amend our banking services contract with TD Bank that was previously approved by the City Commission. We are currently entering into the transition to a new ERP financial software system. And this new system can use some of our banking files to post stuff automatically to the system. In order to do that, we needed to add that service feature to our contract. Therefore, this is an amendment to allow that to happen. They had to put a cost to it, and it was only $5,200. However, we don't pay direct fees. Everything gets charged on a cost analysis sheet that goes against our compensating balance. But since it was an amendment to the contract, we bring this before you tonight for approval. Part of this is also to give our purchasing manager the authority to make any other approvals for small increases like this in the future as we transition to the new system.
All right, very good. Vice Mayor, would you like to move it?
Move to approve, please.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Sarah. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, carries unanimously. Next, number 9. Larry, do you want to share something first? Or you want to hear from staff?
I don't know if everyone got a chance to go through and look through the actual artwork that was getting put in there. I just want to, if staff can show the artwork so we can show that out to the public, I would appreciate it.
Sounds good.
That'll bring that up for us.
Great, thank you.
Julie, will you handle any questions on this, or Susie?
I'm here.
Okay.
It looks fantastic to me. Commissioner Vignola, I think it's great that you pulled it from consent. What are your thoughts? Any questions?
Yeah, my only concern is specifically with the first one. When that goes into a wrap, I think it's going to kind of be hard to tell everything as to what that is when you piece it out. And that's a little concerning because we had one of those wraps over on Coral Ridge and Sample Road for a while where the actual artwork was a beautiful piece, but done into the wrap, it was, I think, a little bit less desirable. And that'd be my only concern is with that first one there. The other ones I love. The fourth one I really love.
Oh, yeah.
But that first one, I'm concerned on how that's going to look as a wrap.
That fourth one, the colors there, wow, and very unique. That looked really cool. Would you mind, Matt, pulling up that first one again for us to take another look? So the exquisite peacock is what you're talking about, Larry?
Yeah, if you, I mean, when you look at it in the backup, you could see where basically, I guess, the lines would be cut on it. And to make it work, I think you'd end up splitting up like the neck of the peacock and the body. And I just, I'm a little concerned about how that's going to look on one of these boxes out there on University Drive.
Gotcha.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Vice Mayor.
I agree with Commissioner Vignola that, you know, if the at least the head part of it can be on one side alone, the rest of it would flow nicely. But if you split any part of that neck, head, and chest, you're not going to know what it is.
We'll take a look at it with our consultant as well as the artist to make sure it's laid out in a way that it'll make sense.
Okay.
All right, so with that condition that Julie shared, may I have a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Moved by Vice Mayor, seconded by Commissioner Sarah. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Okay, carries 4-1. Thank you. So item 11 was moved. We're on to policy formation and direction, The first is the use of forfeiture funds.
Mr. Mayor, I'll have Chief Perry come on and tell us a little bit about this item. This is the use of forfeiture fund to buy protective plates for law enforcement officers. Clyde can tell us a little bit more about that. Chief Perry.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners.
Good evening.
We're looking to use forfeiture funds to buy ballistic rifle plates for our officers. If I could give you a little background on this, after the MSD incident, after that tragedy, our officers began to explore the use of rifle plates. Currently, we wear bulletproof vests. They can stop most rounds, but they probably won't stop. They won't stop rifle rounds. So we began to look into the purchase of some rifle plates that were strong enough to stop rifle rounds, just in case we come across that. So we started T&E some different plates. And, as you can see by the back up there, we originally requested $220,000, not knowing exactly how much of that we'll need. As we were testing and evaluating the plates, we had our end users do it. And this took some time. I wanted to make sure that the end users, the officers, knew how the plates felt, knew that they would limit some of their mobility. But the technology has come so far in a very short period of time. They're much lighter now. They're not old metal plates anymore. So they've become more feasible. So our officers were testing them. As we were nearing a decision on it, a new plate came out. The new plate is guaranteed for 10 years, which doubles the life of the original plates we were looking at. So we're looking at making an investment. I anticipate that we'll need probably somewhere between $100,000 and $160,000. I know that's a big mark there, but some officers will choose to only get the front plate. If they choose to get the front and back plate, we'll be closer to $160,000. But I anticipate some officers will only choose to get the front plate. So what we're looking to do is get your authorization to use those funds. Then we will go out and order them and figure out who's going to want front plates, back plates, and then we will make the purchase. Like I said, the company that we're looking at now has a 10-year guarantee on it. They are certified plates. We've been testing them. They're good. And what we're hoping to do is get these plates. It's a 10-year investment instead of a 5-year investment. Right now, most ballistic plates out there need to be replaced after 5 years. So, obviously, as the chief of police, the safety and security of my officers is a big deal to me. And I hope you agree with me with that and authorize the expenditure.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, any unused funds above authorized will go back into forfeiture.
Okay, that was my question.
Okay, got my question. Any questions from the commission? Commissioner Simmons first.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And thank you, Chief, for giving us that background info. I guess my first question is, I know you said kind of what you were thinking the price would be, but I think we're still trying to authorize the 250 or 225 as a just in case. I guess I just want to make sure.
Well, when the paperwork was put in, as you know, we fill out the paperwork, we submit it, it goes into the queue and takes some time. Originally our price that we were looking at was probably going to be up there. We always overestimate, for contingency purposes. But as Chief City Manager Babinak pointed out, any unused funds are going to go right back into the forfeiture funds. So I don't anticipate needing that. In fact, I'm thinking probably somewhere around the $100,000 mark.
Okay,
and again, it's a 10-year investment.
Right. Yeah, and I won't hold you to that. However, I will ask that if we do go kind of above what you kind of think what will happen, I would just ask that the commission be updated, just to know, kind of what happened with that, with this purchase. And then I want to share my concerns that I shared with Chief Perry and Frank during our briefing. Obviously, you look at the times that we're in, and anything where it comes with funding and just allocation of resources to police department, are going to probably be looked at a lot more heavily than they were in previous times. And so, I asked them to walk me through kind of what was needed, and that this is something that had been rolling, prior to the national movement that's taken place. And so, obviously, when I have conversations with folks, especially with what we're talking about, when you hear about, defunding the police and different things like that, and taking SROs out of schools, I let them know that we have a unique situation up here in Coral Springs, and that's something that can't necessarily happen. And, because, I know our police department and I know what we do and different things like that. And so, I try to be as transparent as possible. I will say when I first saw this on the agenda, it gave me a little bit of pause because of just the fact that, again, we just really got to discuss, these issues. I mean, whether you agree with the national movement and what's happened or not, I think it's still important that we all sit down and have, conversations about why certain things are being purchased or what, or could those funds be better used for something else, either from the community, our community, I'll never can remember the name, our community department,
Community development.
Community development, yeah, community. I thought it was community development, but I thought it was like an I in there or something, but community development programs. And so, I'll say to you, Chief, I will say, I will give my support for this because number one, these rifle plates are defensive in nature. They can't be used to be aggressive or do anything like that to when they're dealing with the community, especially when you think about how we responded to the MSD tragedy and that we were roundly applauded. And I mean, and that's weird to say because of what the situation we're dealing with. I think it's only right that we at least make sure our officers are protected. But I will say, Chief, this is my olive branch to you, and that when we all start our conversations tomorrow, that you understand that I'm negotiating from a place where I trust you all, and I know that you all have our best intentions in mind. But I want you to also know that we are working together to do what we need to do with our police department.
Understood, and I appreciate it. Thank you. Congratulations on the birth of your child.
Thank you. She made her appearance in the background.
I heard that.
We actually all smiled when we heard that, Commissioner.
I know. If you can see, my eyes are like touching my cheeks. So,
anybody else? Any comments, questions?
Mr. Mayor, I have one.
Go right ahead, Commissioner.
Thank you. Chief Perry, I want to thank you for your leadership. I appreciate the thorough follow-up from my briefing. I appreciate the adjustment with the funding component. I mean, from the original ask to what we are now is a big relief. I too had pause like Commissioner Simmons. I also want to recognize city staff leadership. In the past, I'm sure this would have been on the consent agenda, but you guys are truly recognizing the times and the importance of leading by example. And so for that to be pulled under the leadership that we currently have is something that I appreciate as the rookie city commissioner. So I wanted to just make that comment before we called for a vote.
Thank you,
Yes.
Commissioner Sir.
Commissioner Vignola.
So I might be coming from a different place. I extensively watched every video and attended a lot of the MSD Commission meetings. And one of the things that I think everybody well knows is that we had an SRO that was not wearing a vest. Not we, but Stoneman Douglas. It was a BSO deputy who sat outside the building while shots were being fired. We had multiple BSO deputies sitting outside while shots were getting fired. In fact, when you watch the video, one of the deputies went ahead, got out of his car, went to the trunk of his car to get his vest, and still did not go in. I think having rifle protection like this is vitally important to make sure that our police are able to go ahead in those types of situations and not hesitate and go ahead and protect those that are in danger. I think this is such a huge thing to be able to get these for our officers, and I commend Chief and all the staff to go ahead and pushing this forward, because I think that unfortunately, my personal belief is if the officer, the BSO deputy Scott Peterson, had something like this on that day, he probably would have been more likely to go ahead and engage and probably would have saved a lot of lives. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything further from the commission? Okay, this is a request to authorize. Is there a motion?
Move to approve.
Moved by Commissioner Vignola,
Second.
second by Commissioner Sarah. Any discussion? Okay, so I'll just add, yes, this also caused me a little bit of pause. I will echo Commissioner Sarah's comments. And if we keep our police that much more protected with this vest, with this plate, we're going to keep our citizens of 132,000 that much more protected. So I'm happy to say yes. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Carries unanimously. Thank you very much, Chief.
Thank you.
All right, next is item number 12, COVID-19 emergency order enforcement, ILA. Susie.
Mayor, this is an item, and Susie will give us a little background on it, but this is an item that we're entering into an ILA with Broward County. Most of the other Broward County municipalities have either entered into it or are in the process of doing so. It helps us better track emergency order related items through our code enforcement. The county is providing some financial relief for the extra time and resources it's going to take to live up to this agreement. Susie?
Thank you. Good evening. Code Compliance has already received 24 complaints from various businesses and have inspected 39 times on these complaints. So we are already working with this, and what the county wants is they want the data to be able to reflect one of three actions. One is was the complaint substantiated or not, if a warning notice was issued, or if a citation was issued. And so far we've been doing very well with the verbal warnings that we're doing as necessary. And as Frank mentioned, there's 13 cities actually that have already approved it with 11 to go. There's two obvious cities that haven't yet, Fort Lauderdale and Hollywood, and I don't know if they're working on it. I checked on it, and so far they hadn't been put on an agenda. But we do receive $30,500 a month, and up to from June 1st to December 31st. So that's a total of $213,500, which is part of the CARES Act money, which is, should be spread around the county, we feel. So we're doing this information anyway, so we would be reacting on their terms within 24 hours and providing that outcome in their database within 48 hours. So we feel we can do it, and we recommend approval.
Susie, the other point that I want to make sure we put across, it doesn't change our process or the way we've been doing things other than providing the information. Is that correct?
Yeah, so we have a tracket system very similar to what we were going to be doing. It's almost a duplication, really, of just getting it in their system.
Thank you.
Okay, any questions of Susie? All right, I don't see any. Is there a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Moved and seconded by Vice Mayor Carter. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, carries unanimously. Thank you, Susie.
Thank you.
Next is item number 13.
Mr. Mayor, as you know, we've been working very hard on getting our security systems throughout the city updated and integrated. Alex is doing a really good job with this throughout the city. We have to maintain all of our card reader systems and camera systems and all those good things. So this item's related to that, and Alex will walk us through what we're looking at here.
Thank you, Frank. Good evening, everybody. This is a request to approve a contract for two different vendors, Vetted Security Solutions and Interlogic Solutions. We had a competitive RFP process where we looked at all of our different needs for access control, CCTV camera systems, and other security systems and integration back to the real-time crime center. The selection committee decided that it was in the city's best interest to have a dual award on this because each company is specialized in different aspects of what we need. So this provides us with a platform to really expand our security in the city, which is a goal that we've been working on very diligently for the last 2 years, and really is going to make sure that we have enterprise-based technology that the city owns. So these two companies are able to provide us with non-proprietary enterprise-based solutions. So it really puts the city in a good position. We would own any infrastructure we purchase, and we would have a platform upon which we can build. The annual expenditure amount that we have listed on this item is a not to exceed. That's a maximum annual expenditure amount. The plan to implement these solutions moving forward is contingent upon a combination of general funds and a lot of competitive grant funding. So I'm available to answer any questions that y'all may have.
Does anyone have any questions? Seeing none, do I have a motion?
To approve. Second.
Vice Mayor, for the record, that's to approve A and B.
Thank you.
Yep, thanks.
Thank you. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Didn't hear everybody, but
Aye.
aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, next item, number 14, roadway resurfacing and striping.
Yes, Vice Mayor, this is an area that we did a lot of work in, and there was a small area of the neighborhood that we need to go back and finish up. So we're recommending to waive competitive procurement to finish the job with the original company. And Rich will kind of talk with us, and I know he has a map he wants to show to illustrate where this area is. Rich?
Yes, good evening. The map was in your backup. I don't know if you have reference to it now, but back in February, the commission approved a contract with All County Paving to do North Spring subdivision. And along the way, as they were completing North Springs, a resident brought to our attention that we have omitted 99th Terrace, which is kind of a spine road on the southern end of North Springs that runs starting from North Springs Court all the way to 48th Drive. We went back and looked at that and saw that to really complete North Springs, there you go. The green area was part of the original contract for $816,000. The red is where we're asking approval on a change order by waiving the procurement process. And you'll see 99 Terrace there. That's that spine road that runs south to north there. All the red area is part of this change order we're proposing for $143,000. In addition, the original contract did not include a work allowance, but the work allowance was on part of the original bid by the contractor. So the addition of the work allowance for $50,000 aligns the original bid with an amended contract to sync everything up. So the total request is to approve a contract amendment to All County Paving in the amount of $193,456.95. And I should note that our Asset City public input process worked perfectly here because this was brought to our attention through an Asset City request. We were able to look into it and meet that resident's concerns.
Great. Thank you very much, Rich. Any questions of Rich?
Mr. Mayor, can I make a comment real quick?
Please.
Rich, I want to thank you for your leadership with this. And I truly feel that this is a testimonial that Asset City does work and that our residents do have a voice because whoever the resident was, and I know you shared it with me in my briefing, but that's pretty cool that they know they can reach out to our city staff and be heard and actually see results. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Commissioner, you want to make a motion to waive and approve?
Move to approve.
All right, Vice Mayor beat you to it. Commissioner Sarah got the second. Any discussion?
I just wanted to make a comment because I was a new construction salesperson when we built North Springs and North Springs Court. And Mr. Rosamilia, I actually sold him that home 30 years ago. And he said he was told that that part wasn't included because it wasn't North Springs. And I said, no, sir, I know for a fact that's North Springs, but the marketing name is Brookside Court. So he was thrilled when he found, when I put it through Ask the City, and Rich responded positively. So thank you, Rich, for you and your team.
Thank you, Vice Mayor.
Any further discussion? Well, for me, a Delray Beach company is close enough, so happy to approve. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, carries unanimously. Thanks, Rich. I'm glad you're still with us. Nice to see you.
Thank you, Mayor.
All right, next is Resolution 2020-025.
Mayor, on this resolution, we're asking to have Catherine Givens be reappointed to the Coral Springs Police Officers Pension Board. She's been serving on that board, has done a great job, and we're requesting that she be reappointed.
All right, who'd like to make that motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Vignola, seconded by Vice Mayor Carter. Any discussion? Catherine's an all-star. Happy to have her back. All in favor, please say aye.
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 All right, carries unanimously. Last on this part of the agenda is number 16, landscape and hardscape improvements, State Road 817, University Drive median.
Mr. Mayor, as you remember, this item came to you previously, and there was a lot of question on the funding aspect of it between the tree trust fund and the general fund. So we went back and I asked staff to provide some clarity on the funding mechanism. So I'm going to ask Catherine to just kind of give us an overview of the funding, the use of the tree trust fund, and actually what has come out of and what will come out of the general fund. So Catherine, can you walk us through that?
I'm happy to do so.
Hi, Catherine.
Hello. The tree trust was established basically for anyone who was a part of taking a tree down. Then they are part of putting a tree back, and that is the establishment purpose. And they are any of the revenue maintained and received from Tree Trust is maintained outside of the Tree Trust Fund, or is maintained in the Tree Trust Fund outside of the general fund. Any expenditures over $10,000 shall require the commission approval, and that's why we come to you during our budgeting process at the beginning of the year, and we talk about Tree Trust funds. So again, the purpose of the Tree Trust Fund is to, the trust shall be used to obtain trees, landscaping, sprinkler systems, and any other materials necessary for the preservation and maintenance and relocation and restoration of those trees. In our tree trust, we do consistently look at what goes.
Catherine, you have a PowerPoint with this, right?
I do.
Can you share that so the commission can see it, please? Sorry to interrupt.
If someone could enable my sharing, I'm happy to share the screen. Awesome. Let's see my son just for a quick second, and then you'll see the presentation. Frank, do you see it?
No.
All righty. How about now?
Nope.
Nope.
No?
I apologize. This is Lynn. I'm fairly confident Matt has to control the screen because we're broadcasting live.
Okay. So Catherine, go ahead and continue, and I'll see if I can't get that over to Matt real quick.
All righty. In our tree trust budget, we do look at it. We've been looking at it as far as our actuals going back, and right now in 2019, actually in 2020, we have $877,000 in in the tree trust, and we knew going ahead that we were going to have an expenditure of $210,000. So Claudia has done an excellent job of planning out her project. So in doing so, she knows the project. She works with development services and building. We're all one team, and we know the projects on the horizon. So Cornerstone, we know that's a part that's coming. So that's going to be about $100,000 toward tree trust. And we have other projects on the horizon. So I know that was one of the points that we wanted to make sure that we had, was to make sure that if we are spending money out of the tree trust, do we have enough money coming in and replacing it? And of course, within her plan, we know for next year, part of her proposal is to have Sample Road also on there. So we have future spending for Coral Ridge Drive, Coral Springs Drive, Royal Palm Boulevard, Atlantic Boulevard, and so on and so forth as we go on down her 5-year plan. So that's the tree trust side. Now, in our general fund, we also have set up a horticulture and landscaping division. And we set this up this current fiscal year. And even though this was one of the priorities back in 2018, and what we found in 2018 while we were making those improvements within the millage increase, one thing that we said was, let's set this out as its own division in the Public Works Department. And when we did that, at that point, we were able to isolate some of those expenditures from multiple budgets into one budget to be able to have ease. And that's when Claudia started looking through that horticulture and landscape division budget. So we spend in our rights of along the rights of ways and our medians, we spend about $1.4 million in landscaping, and that's irrigation, medians, landscape inspections. We have Artilia Road improvements. We have mulch work that's done there. We also look at our repair and maintenance line for some contracts there. That's when we have our annual planting, we have mulching. And we also have annuals. So anything that we do on a routine basis, that should be coming out of the general fund. Anything that, again, going back to the tree trust purpose, is anything that comes from tree trust is putting in a new tree or anything like that. So that's more special project related work. However, going back to the general fund's purpose, this is when we're having the annual type needs. I'm at the end of the presentation at this point. I'm not sure if the commission's seeing this, but the
Matt, go one more.
Excellent. At this point, this is a large project that Claudia's been working on. And again, we knew about this coming back in 2018, 2019. So in last year's budget, we had spent design work from the Tree Trust Fund project for the University Drive. So we had spent $55,000 last year out of the Tree Trust Fund for this project. And then in the general fund for tree trimming along it last year, we spent about $1,250. For the current year that we're in the contract award that Claudia is requesting approval on is $212,624.75. The breakdown of that is $197,484.75 from the Tree Trust. Claudia had budgeted $210,000, as you saw on a previous slide, and she did a great job in budgeting, and it came in under, so all things great there. And then we also have $15,140 coming out from the general fund, and that is for removing those trees that are diseased or need to be replaced to another place of the road, as well as pavers. So you can see the differences of the Tree Trust Fund, money going more toward putting in new trees along University Drive, and any of the repair and maintenance or a tree removal piece will come out of the general fund.
So Catherine, the total for FY20 for the general fund is $15,140. That's all. Correct. That's all that will come out of the general fund for this year's budget.
Correct.
So that was the question, Mayor, that was asked last meeting. Sorry, we didn't have clarity on that last meeting, but this is that is where we are with this.
Sounds good. I appreciate it. I'm sure everybody does. Can you just go back 2 or 3 slides, Matt? One more? Okay, I just want to take a quicker look at this.
Correct, Mayor. I think this was one of your questions, was the upcoming projects that we had to make sure that in that beginning balance line, that we're making sure that we're staying above, making sure the expenditures, of course, stay underneath the revenues, and making sure that we do have a revenue stream coming forward. So this does ensure that. I do want to give compliments to Claudia, working closely with my team to make sure that we work together through this, and making sure it's when you have the splits, it can get confusing, but she's very, it's a great partnership we have.
All right. Wonderful. Is there a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
All right, moved and seconded. Any discussion? Commissioner Simmons.
Thank you so much for all the updates and kind of letting us know where the funds and things are coming from. Obviously, I'm not going to belabor the point. You all know how I felt from the last commission meeting. So it's very helpful to kind of see where the money and things are coming from. And to Commissioner Vignola, I want this city to look beautiful. I want our trees to be beautiful. I want our medians to be beautiful. But it's just helpful to kind of see where everything is coming from.
Sounds good. Thank you, Commissioner Vignola.
I thought at our last meeting we discussed that there was more money coming from the general fund on this.
There was budgeted. So what was budgeted and what was needed were two different things, and that's what we didn't have clarity on from the last meeting. So you are correct. The last meeting it was stated, I think $125,000 was budgeted for this, but we don't need that.
And so as far as the tree trust fund goes, what percentage of the tree trust fund did we take out if we took out from the general fund? Kind of my concern is we're spending more money than typically comes in from the tree trust fund. And I want to make sure that commissions down the road, when things happen, are able to go ahead and use money from the tree trust fund. Even if a storm comes in and wipes out all our landscaping, immediately use the tree trust fund to go ahead and start replacing plants and trees and those types of things. I don't want to see us wipe out. In 2017, I believe, we had a large amount come into the tree trust fund, but we had a lot of large projects and things. Typically, we don't get that type of revenue in, and I hate to see us get in the habit of dwindling that down more than we bring in. Again, that slide is the first I've seen of it. And if we can it's very hard when we're here at home and we don't have the ability to have those printed packets. If we can get those to us through the agenda backups or however, so we can go through them. But my concern is, if we're going to continue those type of practices, we will dwindle that tree trust fund.
Any further discussion? I see Commissioner Simmons with his hand back up, so please.
I got to work the brain out. So thank you, Commissioner Vignola. So I guess the money that you said that it was not needed anymore, has anything changed on the tree trust fund side from what we saw originally? Have we shifted money anywhere or anything like that?
We're spending 197,000 out of the 210 that was budgeted out of the tree trust fund.
And that was always there, even that was always there, even from the beginning. But on our side, on the general fund side, we were just adding more to it.
We had 100. Go ahead, Catherine.
This came about from an initiative that Claudia had back in 2018, and then it was an ongoing. 2019. It was an ongoing initiative for this fiscal year. So this is part of that initiative to ensure that we are able to meet what she was trying to do on University Drive.
Okay, got it. So, and I understand what you're saying, Commissioner Vignola. I think last time we also said there were like 900,000 or something like that, roughly.
Matt, can you bring that slide back up?
Okay.
Yeah.
So when this is all said and done, adding the 13,000 back in, there'll be 680,000 balance in the tree trust fund.
And I guess on average, how much out of the tree trust fund is spent, I guess, on a yearly basis? And maybe
It's
this
all
is in
over
front
the
of me,
place.
but I just please answer the question.
Yeah, Commissioner, it's all over the place. It just depends on the projects for that year. And to Commissioner Vignola's point, the money that comes into the tree trust fund is all over the place as well, because it depends on new development. So you could see we have some projections for 21, 22, 23, and 24. And we have some projections for upcoming projects. At the end of the day, if our projections are close, we would have 210,000 coming into the tree trust fund, which would put us up to 890. And then we have 700 coming out. So you'd have a balance of 190 if we were correct on our projections with no more projects coming in 23 or 24.
Okay. And so the 300,000 there, that's for Cornerstone or up and down sample. I see it's a street, but just
it's up and down sample.
Okay. Are we providing any kind of trees or anything landscaping wise, anything that come out of tree trust fund for Cornerstone or that area?
I do not believe so. Julie would have to answer that definitively, but I do not believe so. As a matter of fact, I think they might even be paying into the tree trust fund a little bit. Julie, you have the answer on that?
Correct. Yes, we're not paying for any of the trees. They're paying in. We tried to find spots for those oaks that are lining it, and we just couldn't find a spot for it. So they'll be paying in.
Okay. Well, I don't have any more questions. This is what we got elected for, to talk trees, trash, and sewer. Shout out to Rich Mashad. So thank you.
I'm happy to see such a small amount coming from the general fund and the clarification. So it looks good to me. Any further discussion? Commissioner Vignola.
Yeah, it just, I want to see that number, because when we talk about going down to $600-something thousand, in 2017, we brought in 500, I think 13,000. So I wanted to point that out. Obviously, if we can spend a lot from the tree trust fund is good. We want to make sure that we don't deplete that fund is all my point. So I think Commissioner Simmons, I think we're a lot more on the same page and we are apart on this.
I just like debating with you, Commissioner Vignola. You're not going to be here too much longer, so I got to get it out with you.
Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
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 All right, carries unanimously. We're on to City Commissioner Communications. Who'd like to go first? Commissioner Vignola.
Just I want to congratulate Commissioner Simmons and Cheyenne on the birth of their baby. Awesome time. I remember about 9.5 years ago, I was on the commission and my little one was born, and I know it's an awesome and special time. And I'm glad it's summertime and you're able to stay home and spend that time, because you do not get that time back. So to you, Scott, to you, Commissioner Sarah, Frank, John, Clyde, all the other dads out there, I hope you have a very, very happy Father's Day. Enjoy. That's it. If you like to call me or reach me anytime, call me on my cell at 954-632-7544. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Happy Father's Day to you too, Larry. All right, who'd like to go next? Commissioner Simmons, you always like to wait until the end. So how about a little bit now and a little bit later?
No, I'll take care of it now. I don't even know where to begin, y'all. First thing I'll say, just kind of on the heavy side of things, one of the things that I've been fortunate to do, because I like to do this. I'm not someone that makes someone feel bad because of what they don't know, right? I know a lot of times when we hear the term ignorant or ignorance, we use it in a negative way. But how can you know what you don't know, right? And so through everything that's been going on, I have actually been happy to help people learn things or see things or understand things that they may not have known, because that's the only way that we can move forward. So instead of me pointing fingers, I always just try to be as helpful as I can. If you show me and you show that you're willing to understand and listen, I'll take that any day over you kind of hanging out in your bunker and refusing to just even engage in understanding. And I say that to say, because for two things. The first thing is, when people hear Black Lives Matter, it doesn't mean that only Black Lives Matter or no one else's life matters. The reason why that term is there, it's a call to action. It's a call to pay attention. It's a call to understand. Obviously our country's history is just ripe with violence committed against minorities, especially African Americans in this country. I mean, you hear the stories of World War II veterans coming home and being beaten and killed and beaten to the point that they're blind after they went and defended their country. And they went to defend their country in hopes of making it better for themselves and for their family, right? Or where you see the images of postcards where there are crowds of people around a hanging Black body, and it's a celebration. Or when you read about the fact that when they hung those folks, when they hung those Black people, they cut their ears off or other body parts and gave them away or sold them as souvenirs. The old images of Bull Connor in the South, right? I mean, and that's just going all the way back. I can continue to go to today and just talk about the vilification sometimes of what we use black images and Black faces for in the media. It's just to say that we want you to see us for us, not as a threat, not as anything other, not as someone this or that. We want you to see us the way you see yourselves, right? And so when we say Black Lives Matter, it's not just trying to make you be defensive or to tell you your life doesn't matter or anything like that. I think a loss of a life is a waste, no matter your race or your color. But it's when you continue to see things that go against who you are and make you feel less than yourself. That's when Black Lives Matter comes into the conversation. So if any of you on this call or anyone watching, have ever had any kind of difference of opinion when you hear the term Black Lives Matter, I just hope that what I said to you today helps you kind of understand a little bit better. The next thing, for those that are planning on watching the Juneteenth celebration, the commemoration, which I'm very appreciative of the city staff working so hard and so, just quickly to put this together. This is just huge for our city. I mean, people have been calling me and just saying how surprised they were that Coral Springs is doing something for Juneteenth. I think that's incredible. A young woman is going to perform a song called Strange Fruit. If you haven't looked into that song, basically it is by Nina Simone, a very famous Black singer. And it's basically an ode to Black bodies hanging in the summer breeze, right? And it's called Strange Fruit because she's talking about lynching, right? She's talking about lynching, Black bodies swinging in the summer breeze, right? So, I really want you guys to just really enjoy what we put together. It's going to be amazing. And it just helps us create a better world. Obviously I'm coming off the birth of my second baby girl, and I'm so appreciative of everybody reaching out and checking in and asking, how we're doing, how Cheyenne's doing. Thank you to the commission for sending us flowers. I really appreciated that. I mean, it's not lost on me. I'm really appreciative, and all I've ever wanted from any of this, and even since I was a kid, is just for everybody to have a better world for our children. It's easy to hang out in your camps. It's easy to just stick by your beliefs. It's much harder to actually say, you know what, I can do better. I need to be better. How do I help make things better? And so with that, I think I'm done. I'm not sure, but I'm done.
Joshua, you can come back anytime, as any of you can. A lot of times, somebody's comments brings other thoughts. And I have to tell you, Commissioner, I'm crazy about you. I'm crazy about your passion, your commitment to all of us, your eloquence, your desire to educate and not vilify, just educate. And what you said and how you said tonight, very much appreciated. You're awesome, and congratulations again. Commissioner Sarah or Vice Mayor Carter? Vice Mayor Carter, you seconded my emotions.
Yes, I did.
Awesome.
Because I agree with you. I think Josh is a great addition to the commission. Yes, congratulations, Josh, to you and Cheyenne. She is beautiful. I hope you get sleep-filled nights, though. And that's going to be a fun journey ahead of you. So I'm very, very excited for you. I also want to say great job to staff for putting together those 2 plans to assist people in this time of need. And I know that was a lot of work, and I definitely appreciate your efforts. Thank you so much. And I bring everybody greetings from our favorite senior. I had a nice conversation with Abe this week, and he wanted me to be sure. I had to tell him who everybody was at his event because he couldn't see any of us with all of our masks. So, but he's still talking about it. He's still excited. So thanks again, Commissioner Vignola, for coordinating that. These are difficult times, but sometimes difficult times bring good change. And so sometimes I think that's a good thing. And I just want the residents to know that whether it's, the opposing 5G or opposing drilling in the Everglades, or not happy about the police because you don't understand how Coral Springs operates, but you reach out to us and you ask us, and I'm very grateful that we get the opportunity to share our processes and our systems. And anytime you have a question or a concern, that you do reach out to any of us, because we are your voice and we genuinely care, because every one of us loves Coral Springs as much as you do, for those of you that do. So I did want to say that, and I wish all of you dads out there a happy Father's Day. That is, anybody can be a father, but it takes someone really special to be a dad. And I know a lot of special dads in this community and on our commission, and in our city staff. So congratulations to all of you. If you need to reach me, I'm at 954-998-4186 or joycarter@coralsprings.org. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I got chills when you talked about the distinction between father and dad. Very cool. Thank you. Commissioner Sarah?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Want to also congratulate Commissioner Josh Simmons and Cheyenne. Kaylee Blake Simmons is just beautiful. I love the flex picture. Just very anxious and looking forward to meeting her. I also wanted to give a shout out to someone that's an unsung hero to me, and that's our city clerk, Deborah Thomas. We could not be as organized as we are. And every time we have a meeting, you're just so thorough and you just do a great job keeping me organized. But what's even more important to me is you're by the book, you do everything right, and you're just a great representation of Coral Springs. So thank you, Deborah. I also wanted to give a shout out to our Commissioner, Larry Vignola. I know you're very sad to give up the reins of the Team Political Forum, but you went out as a national champion, a Super Bowl champion. That was one of the best Team Political Forums I've been a part of. Just a tremendous job by our city staff. It just was very well done in very difficult times. I want to give a shout out to all of our graduates. Hopefully you're tuning in to Beacon or you're tuning into your graduation assigned link. But we have Marjorie Stoneman Douglas on Monday. We have Coral Glades tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. We have Coral Springs, Commissioner Simmons on Monday at 7 o'clock. We have JP Taravella, Go Trojans on Wednesday at 7 o'clock. They're all at 7. And I'm not sure how that happened. Maybe the person that organized it made that happen. But a lot of hard work and dedication from a lot of people went into this. I know that we would have loved to have celebrated you on stage, but this was the second best thing we could do. Congratulations for all your hard work, accomplishments. Best of luck in the future. And I hope the families have an opportunity to really celebrate you in the upcoming nights. And those of you that already celebrated, I hope you had a good time. I'm bringing a resolution opportunity for consideration, something that I've kind of been exploring and kind of keep an eye on. There are a couple of our state senators that have rallied around it, but I'd like for the commission, and I mentioned it to city staff that I was going to be bringing it forward, but basically there's an anticipated proposal for expansion of offshore drilling. And, I would like to propose in a future commission meeting that we make a resolution and sign off on it, that we oppose that expansion. We need to take care of the environment, and I feel very strongly about this. So I wanted to just throw that out there, Mr. Mayor, if we can consider that. And the last thing I just wanted to say is Happy Father's Day to all of you that our fathers, and Vice Mayor said it very eloquently. Many of you may not have that title of father, but you're a father as a mentor or a supporter or someone that just cares about people in general. So thank you. And if you need me, my number is 954-612-7114. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. So with Father's Day coming up, I'm very lucky. I have 5 amazing kids. They're 19 to 34 years old. My favorite role in life is being a dad. One of my favorite roles is being a mentor. And we have some incredible young minds in our community. I couldn't be prouder of the youth that we have in our community. And I think they're a big part of our solutions to the crises that we're dealing with. I think it's so important that we listen to them, give them a platform, and really connect them with us. And just like Larry did, Commissioner Vignola, with the Teen Political Forum, it was great. The questions were very eloquent and very respectful, with great dialogue, and it was great to be a part of it again. And Commissioner Vignola, I want to say at this commission meeting, I know I said at the workshop, but great job over all these years for leading the Teen Political Forum and inspiring a lot of young minds to get involved and engage with our government. So thank you, Larry. Appreciate that. Yesterday, I'll be honest, I'll share a little bit from my heart. It may take me a couple of minutes. Yesterday, I had a pretty good day, long day. And then I decided, you know what, about 9:30 or so, I'm just going to rest. And then as I'm popping through Roku, a lot cheaper. I won't get into that. But I came across a documentary on Sandra Bland. So instead of watching Billions or another show to just relax and unwind, I decided to watch the documentary of Sandra Bland. And if you're not familiar with her story, it's horrific. And I won't share the details of it, but unfortunately, there was a judgment made, if not multiple judgments made, because of Sandra Bland's skin color. And she was in the custody of police in Texas when she apparently died by suicide. And very hard to watch, made me upset. And I don't have Sandra or Joshua's skin color. And I have to tell you, there are a lot of raw emotions now, and I get it to a great extent. And I think it's important too that we feel comfortable, to some extent being uncomfortable with uncomfortable dialogue, so we can get to the other end, because we have to end the racism. We have to end those kind of judgments. And our police here, I think, are second to none. I have great confidence in our police department, and we will be looking at many of the proposals that have been brought for us and through to us. But if you're not familiar with the name of Sandra Bland, I urge you to get familiar with Sandra Bland and her story, her commitment to help get beyond racism. And it was no coincidence, unfortunately, that she wound up making such an impact, unfortunately, by virtue of her death and the way in which she died. But it was very, very moving for me, and I'm glad I didn't just unwind, because I'm committed that we are a community of unity, that we share with the world, our commitment that Black Lives Matter in the context. I think it's so great an explanation of what you shared, Commissioner Simmons. I've never been scared to drive somewhere or run somewhere because of my skin color. And I think we need to continue the dialogue, take action, take a look at how we can make changes, whether it's here or we're fostering changes in the state and the nation. And we have a unique opportunity in our community because of the diversity, because of the education, because of the commitment to solutions, because of the youth that we have here, and because we have Commissioner Simmons with us on the dais. So I just wanted to share that, and thank you for letting me rant, I guess to go on a little bit. I appreciate it. Just a couple more things. I had asked Frank this question and Alex, and we talked about it at a briefing, about getting stats on how many COVID cases in Coral Springs have shown recovery. So Frank, can you explain why we don't know that information?
Absolutely. Mayor, so the Department of Health tracks all the cases of COVID, whether it's the Florida Department of Health or the county health department. Right now, they're not releasing any data on recovery. So the data exists, but it's protected and it's in the hands of the Florida Department of Health. We've asked collectively, when I say we've asked collectively throughout Broward County if that information could be made available. The other thing that goes along with that is the numbers, and I was going to talk a little bit about the numbers. But for example, 408 cases of COVID in Coral Springs, right? Well, that's from March 1st to present. We have no way other than guessing to know how many active cases are in Coral Springs right now. So when you look at the length of the illness and you look at the recovery rate by some other stats throughout the country, you can make an educated guess as to maybe what the current active rate is. But at this time, that information is just not available, although we would like it to have a better handle on how many active cases we currently have in the community. So that's kind of where we are with the information on the recovery rate itself.
Thank you. Also wanted to get follow-up. I forget who it was. It might have been Representative Daley, that we might have some good news coming.
Yeah, so Alex Falcone, since that conversation, has been working with the Florida Department of Emergency Management and their subcontractor who is working on the claims, and they asked for some additional paperwork to be submitted this week, and Alex has been going back and forth with them. As of right now, we don't have a definitive answer, but it's looking very positive for some movement on our balance of funds. Alex, do you have anything further on that?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Frank, and thank you, Mr. Mayor. If there's one thing I've learned, it's to never, when we're dealing with the state, to never promise a specific number of funding. But we did approve, we got a couple $100,000, just over $200,000 in funding wired to the city this week. I've approved just under $1 million in additional funds through the Florida Public Assistance Portal. And I'm working with KPMG, which is the state's subcontractor, to get the rest of our funds awarded. So basically what the state has agreed to do, thanks to Representative Daley and this commission's actions, they've agreed to release funds as they're validated instead of waiting for our entire project to be validated. So for example, a $5 million debris project, if they've been able to validate 75% of that, they're going to pay us the full 75% instead of waiting for the full 100%. So we do feel confident we will get a majority of our funding this fiscal year, and we're going to continue to work with them.
Gotcha.
And Mayor, those funds are going to become crucial to balancing the remainder of this year's budget and going towards next year's budget with the shortfalls and with some of the revenues that come from the state. This will be crucial to us being able to propose a budget that maintains the current millage rate while providing the same level of service. So that's what we're working towards right now.
Gotcha. All right. Thank you. I want to thank Luam and IT for helping me with our extended office hours for my office hours the last 3 weeks. We've had some great calls. Today we had about 35 people on the call. And one of the young men, Jonathan Leopoldo, was sharing about a variation of the Temple of Time, something like a geodome where people can possibly share their messages and feel freer to do so. And I asked him, develop it further and, let us know what he's thinking about. But there are some great minds that have been sharing and listening and really moving the dialogue further on the extended office hours. So I appreciate staff's involvement with having me host that dialogue. Lastly, I just want to say thank you to the city for the filing deadline passed, and I'm lucky enough to be reelected for a 2-year term come November. So I look forward to serving the community for another 2 years come November, and I'm very honored and privileged to serve with this team at this time. And we just have such an amazing city staff that's so committed to all of our residents, to our business owners. And Frank, again, your leadership is fantastic. You lead with a heart, great mind. You're very thorough, very diligent. All of you have been so agile during this time. I mean, this is the first for all of us, but we all feel like we're in great hands with you running the city day to day and having top leaders at your side. And it's not easy being here, but you've certainly made it a lot easier. So I appreciate you, Frank, and your entire team. And if you need me, you can catch me on my cell at 954-494-9872. So my commissioner communications are concluded. Anybody else want to add something from the commission? Some other thoughts? All right, seeing none, we'll go to you, Frank.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for those kind words. And I agree with you. The staff is amazing. They have been agile. They have been very responsive. And when you kind of have a bunch of different stuff thrown at you at one time, you can either react or stay stagnant. And they've certainly reacted appropriately to our community. So I do appreciate everything they do. Congratulations to you for going unopposed. We look forward to continuing to work with you and having a great relationship. Josh, congratulations to you. My daughter wants to offer her babysitting services should you need them. And she likes babies, so she probably would do it for free.
Noted.
Couple things to follow up on from our workshop. We talked about the dispatch services. We've met with the majority of the commission. There was a couple commissioners that we didn't get a chance to follow up on with. So if you need any more information on that, please reach out to me so I can set up a time this week to go over that with you. And I want to make sure we followed up on that. We followed up on the tree trust fund. The other thing, Mayor, we need to follow up on, there was some discussion on having a town hall meeting for our community and getting some dates together for that. I've checked with staff, I've talked with staff, and it's something that we can do, and something that we feel would be valuable to allow the community to let us know what's on their minds. So I just need to know what the will of the commission is on that, and a time frame that you guys would like to move forward or not with.
Great. So I see Vice Mayor Carter and Sean, Commissioner Sarah. I don't see Commissioner Vignola or Commissioner Simmons. But any objections to moving forward to the town hall meeting?
No, none for me. I support your initiative.
Thank
I
you.
do too.
All right. Well, you
Cool.
get it?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. There you go, Frank. Well, thank you for doing the research on that and bringing it forward. And thank you, Commission, for your approval of that. I think that'll be great for our community. And I would just suggest, Frank, the sooner you can do it without haste, the better. So I'm going to rely on your judgment, and I think we all would with that.
Okay, we'll get with staff. I have a staff meeting tomorrow morning. We'll discuss it and come up with some dates that we feel are realistic, and being able to do it in a timely and appropriate manner.
Great. And I also want to reiterate Commissioner Simmons' sentiments about Juneteenth, for you guys working so hard and so diligent and, with agility to make this event happen. It's awesome.
Appreciate it. And I know staff appreciates that as well. Mayor, just a couple quick things. I want to highlight cases are on the rise of COVID-19 throughout the state as well as Broward County. We've had some historical highs of new reported cases over the last several days. We need to remain vigilant as a community. We need to make sure we're wearing our mask. We need to make sure we're washing our hands, keeping our social distancing. If you don't feel well, stay away from others. And we really, really need to protect our vulnerable population. Although if you're not in that vulnerable population realm, chances are you're not going to be as affected by it. But those that are a little more fragile, this could be a very serious illness for them. So we encourage everybody to please try to help out the best they can. Testing is going very well. Again, we highlight different staff for different things, and all of staff does a great job. And Alex has worked very hard to put this vision to work. Our testing site's very successful. We had 2 record days of testing people recently, where we've tested over 200 per day, where our average before was about 150, 160. We have capacity for 250, so we continue to try to reach that capacity. The Department of Health is extremely happy with our testing site, and says, they say it's one of the most efficient sites they're running right now. It's one of the busiest sites they're running right now. We've extended our agreement with them until the end of July, and we'll continue to evaluate that on a month-by-month basis, and we will continue that testing site for as long as the community needs it there. And then I wanted to talk a little bit about our connecting businesses to grants and loans. We're at $1.3 million. So we continue to grow, and hopefully very soon we'll be at that $1.5 million mark. Our budget and strategy team, our grant writers are just doing a tremendous job helping out local business and getting these resources. 40 of the 250 Coral Springs Back in Business applications were completed and funded. Those checks will be delivered hopefully this week, and then the remainder will be processed throughout the rest of this week and into next week. So that's all going well, and we continue to try to get as much help out into the community as we possibly can. And I think that's about it. Commissioner Simmons mentioned the Juneteenth event. I hope folks join us for that. And that's all I have.
All right. Thank you very much. Will Lynn put out another thing on Facebook and social media tomorrow about Juneteenth that we can share?
Lynn, can you tell us what the plan is for the rest of the today and tomorrow for advertising that?
Oh, sorry, I lost my video, but here I am. Look, Temple of Time. You were talking about it earlier, Mayor Brook. Yeah, of course, we're promoting it all the way up until the event. And just to kind of reiterate, Although it'll be live at 3, we plan to re-air it again on social media at 7. So absolutely, we are promoting it and we will be pushing that information. So
Great, wonderful. All right, John.
Thank you, Mayor. Congratulations on your new term.
Thank you.
Looking forward to another 2 years, 2.5 from here. Josh, you and I spoke. You look good for a man that hasn't slept, so congratulations too. Mayor, I sent out and I spoke with each commissioner on 2 resolutions.
That
I was
made me
gonna walk-
smile. Thank you.
on 2 resolutions that I wanted to walk on today because of the timing of them. They're both on the county commission, and we had a very short lead time with them. But actually, in a weird way, it was yesterday. The county meeting had a problem when the electrical went off on them, and so they rescheduled the meeting as we were talking about one of the items that I want to bring up today. It's going to be heard starting at noon tomorrow, and neither of these items have been heard yet. So the first one is they have some charter referendums that they want to move forward. Item 81 is a referendum that would allow the regional parks in times of for emergency needs to use it for more than just parks. And the examples are, for example, for testing or some distribution after a hurricane. We don't have an objection. Spoke with Frank, he does not have objection. And when I spoke to the commissioners individually, there's no objection to that. That makes some good sense. The second one, though, is really affecting our home rule. Currently, the county has 3 instances in which they can preempt local ordinances. It's for land use, ethics, and environmentally sensitive land. They'd like to add a 4th one in the regional parks where they could put any facility that would be for the public and would not need to go through the city, and it could be in contradiction to city ordinances, city laws, and we would have no say on that. So we, the city attorney's office, city manager's office, and when I spoke with the commissioners, there seems to be consensus to go ahead and I've drafted the resolution. I sent it out to everybody, which would be to oppose that because that is eating into our home rule. There could be neighborhoods near a regional park where we would not want a facility that they would put in, whether it's a bus depot or telecommunications tower or whatever it might be. We would like to have that control. We would like to have input. It is in our city. It does affect our residents. So I'm asking for approval to adopt resolution 20-28, which opposes the charter amendment that would allow the county to supersede city zoning and other regulations for certain county projects within municipalities. So I would look for a motion on that, Mayor, to approve that. We would send it down to the county commission before tomorrow's meeting.
Okay, so this is on resolution 20-28. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Made by Commissioner Vignola, seconded by Commissioner Simmons. Any discussion on the motion? Thanks for giving us a heads up on that, JJ. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
And doing it so quickly. Any further discussion? All right, seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Carries unanimously.
Thank you. Thank you all. Second up is resolution 20-29, and this involves the federal money that was distributed to Broward County in the amount of $340.7 million, part of the CARES Act. CARES Act provided that municipalities over $500,000 would get funded because of the COVID-19 issue and the expenses. But if cities were under $500,000, that money would go to the county. In Broward County, there are no cities over 500,000, so the county received all of that money. There's an agenda item going before the county on that funding. There's no indication from my conversation with the county attorney's office, with Frank's conversations with the county manager's office, that that money will be shared with the city at this time, if at all. It's important to note Congress members Debbie Wasserman Schultz, Elsie Hastings, Ted Deutsch, and Frederica Wilson have all expressed concerns about that and have asked that at least 30% of that money be provided to the municipalities. Obviously, we are spending money and losing revenue just like the county is, and we would ask for our fair share of that. So this resolution 2020-29 asks for that, Mayor, and I would ask for a motion to approve that as well.
You got it. Is there a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
All right, moved by Vice Mayor Carter, seconded by Commissioner Vignola. Any discussion?
Question.
Go ahead, Commissioner Simmons.
Hey, John, quick question. At the county commission meeting yesterday, did they get to this item? Because I know.
No.
Okay.
That was, they have a very long agenda. That item is more than item 82. They were on item 81.
Okay.
And item 81
For
and
the
82.
commission's reference, there was one particular item when they were discussing an elected mayor of Broward County. 75 people requested to speak on that item alone. So there are other important things on that agenda that didn't get touched.
Correct. So tomorrow's going to be another long day for them, I think. We're monitoring it. So, yep.
And
right.
if anything happens, just send us a quick email, please.
Yes, we will. We'll update you when we hear, because I have two people from the office listening to it.
Okay, thank you.
And then, Mayor, just one other item that just came up tonight. I know Commissioner Sarah brought up the drilling, the opposition to drilling, and asked for a resolution. I'd be happy to bring that resolution if there's consensus at the next meeting for your review and approval.
I would support that.
Seems everybody's supporting that.
Yeah, I support it as well.
No object. Okay. Yeah, you can bring that to us, John. Thank you.
I will. It'll be at your next meeting. And that's all I have, Mayor. Thank you all.
Great. So our next meeting is Wednesday, July 15th. We are skipping July 1st. It's at 6:30. It will be virtual, is my understanding, but we need to do something to confirm that. Is that right, John?
We are waiting. Right, the governor order expires at the end of this month. We believe he will extend it, and if he doesn't extend it, we will be working with his office and the AGO to have our virtual. I believe we will be still allowed to have virtual meetings. Yes.
Okay. Very good. Well, happy Father's Day to all the dads out there. And as Frank Babinek, our city manager, said, please wear your mask. Please engage in social distancing. We're still in the middle of a pandemic, and we have to do whatever we can to be safe. So thank you, everyone. Have a great night.
Thank you.
Good night, all.
Good night, everyone.